from this moment on is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. The 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
Oh, what a game. What a game that one was. I can't wait to talk about holding or not holding for the next 2 hours. Just kidding, we're not going to do that. Well, come on in. It is the Insiders on what should be a national holiday the day after the Super Bowl. I'll stand pat on that one. We need someone just to make up a holiday. So, I mean, all holidays are technically made up anyways. Eventually, somewhere down the road, a long, long time ago, they were kind of made up. But, you know, like we have President's Day. Can we make, like, I don't know, something that's worthy of being a national holiday? We can just, like, it's Teacher's Day. National Teacher's Day. Everyone gets a day off.
That is a thing.
Yeah, I guess. Isn't that like Labor Day or something like that?
I'm not sure. No, I actually think Teacher's Day is coming up. I think it might be in February.
Well, we need to change it.
Well,
we need to come up with a holiday that's always the day after the Super Bowl.
We have Groundhog Day. We can at least get Super Bowl Monday.
Come on, for crying out loud. Andy Rickoff, Micah Bindi, who you've already heard, and Rob Hipp with you on the Insiders today. Good to be back inside our Therrelton Ethanol broadcast studio with you. Thanks to Rob and Kyle and Cole Jurek for holding down the fort. Let's start things off the way it needs to be started off. I am alone on the top as the champion of all things Bison 1660 playoff predictions. I was undefeated throughout the entire playoff run. I told Rob Hipp he'd finish second, and he did, because I win picking the Chiefs over the Eagles. Chiefs win 38-35. I'm champion.
Oh, I'll give you credit, Andy. And
I got one.
You got the credit there. The only thing that I have going for me here is I was right about the Panthers finishing second. That's the only thing that I've been right about.
Well, they still wasn't tied for second. Like 3 teams tied with the second.
Yeah, I think the other 3 teams tied. But hey, I don't think Tom Brady's going to make the playoffs next year, so you'll have that one too.
Can I
just null and void if he retires?
Well, he's not in the playoffs.
It's fair.
I just want to make this public and get this off my chest today. Philly fans are classless. Booing
Rob's not holding back. I like it.
Booing Dak Prescott for Walter Payton Man of the Year. I don't
Walter
care.
Who?
Walter Payton. I was stumbling a little bit there because I just wanted to make sure that I'm being clear about how classless Philadelphia Eagle fans are bashing on a guy who won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award for his accomplishments. You can hate the team, don't hate the guy. You know, don't hate the award. That would be like me. I wasn't a big Tom Brady. I am now that he's out of the league. But that would be like me bashing Tom Brady over something that, you know, he's the GOAT. No, he is the GOAT. Okay? I'm not saying that Dak Prescott is a GOAT, but I'm saying he won the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. Don't be classless.
It has more to do with what that award is. You know,
yeah.
It's not him winning the – if he was winning the MVP, boo the heck out of him. Go ahead. Yeah, you hate the Cowboys, boo him. But he's winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year where it's like charitable work off the field, good things he's doing in the community. Yeah.
But again, for a third or fourth time, I just wanted to say that because Philadelphia Eagle fans are very classless.
Preach to the choir.
Yeah,
that's all I've got.
Were you expecting something different?
No, I just wanted to make that known.
Yeah,
I think we already knew it. I don't think we've known it since 2017.
Anyone that knows, and I know some Eagles fans that are really good people. And you're probably speaking for everybody when it's a small minority, but everyone thinks of the Eagles as the worst fan base in the history of sports. That's just flat out what people associate. So I'm right there with you. But I kind of expect that. I expect them to be kind of classless, get into fights. If you're there cheering on your team respectfully, they're just going to throw beer bottles at you and try and make your life miserable when you're not doing anything to them. That's just the kind of fans they are. That's why they have a jail in their stadium. And I couldn't be happier with the way the Super Bowl turned out. That the Chiefs won. Eagles fans are mad. They want Jonathan Gannon fired and tarred and feathered through the streets of Philadelphia. They want the city to burn down. They're distraught. And for me, personally, I'm happy with it. I'm good with it. So that's fine with the way the Super Bowl went. Chiefs win again, 38-35. I think Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes both said at postgame that it was like, you know what? You win it once, that's one thing, but to win it twice kind of validates everything. That's pretty awesome for them. So congratulations to the Chiefs, to Andy Reid, the Patrick Mahomes, I don't think there's any questioning now. He's the greatest quarterback currently in the sport. Got a long ways to go to prove he's the greatest quarterback ever. Got to chase down someone that has 7 Super Bowl rings, but Mahomes already 2 of them at, 27 years old. That's pretty impressive. Been to 3 of them. And Tyreek who? I think that should be the headline in Kansas City today. Everything was about Tyreek Hill. Now it's Tyreek who? Didn't need the guy. Won a Super Bowl without him. Just fine without Tyreek Hill. Everyone thought that was going to be what would keep the Chiefs away from winning the title, and there are some people dumb enough to think it would keep them from getting into the playoffs at all, and they are back on top of the mountain as Super Bowl champions once again. Great game, first off, in my opinion. The ending, anticlimactic a little bit, no doubt. You get, 2 knee downs and then a chip shot field goal to end a Super Bowl. Feels like that's not how the game's supposed to end.
It's not the storybook.
Like, the storybook is Chiefs kick the field goal. You have a minute 30 seconds, no timeouts. Eagles got to respond to go down and get a field goal to tie. That's kind of how, if you could write it up, how it would be done. So it didn't end that way, but still overall a really, really good game.
Or if it ended like the Chiefs had a 48-plus yard field goal with 2 seconds left, and it ends in the field goal. It's just, you hit it on the head. It felt anticlimactic.
It was shorter than an extra point.
Even the last play, and you and I were mentioning this, Andy, before we went on the air earlier this morning, even the final play that, it would have had to have been a miracle, but even that last play by Jalen Hurts, I wanted to see some laterals, I wanted to see something happen, and just threw it well short. Nowhere even close to anybody that couldn't even have 1 ounce of miracleness to it.
It wasn't going to happen then anyways, but...
You know what he did? He pulled a Kirk. He threw a check down.
He threw a check down.
Terrible.
He tried throwing a 60-yard Hail Mary, but he threw the 44-yard check down. And again, I think the check down wasn't there.
I think we got to also remember Jalen Hurts was dealing with a shoulder strain, trying to throw that thing 40 yards like he did to A.J. Brown on the touchdown's one thing, but to throw it 60 to 70, you got to get something behind it, and he probably just didn't have it. And that's, again, what you should have done is you should have done like a slant and then done the laterals thing if you know you have a quarterback that can't get it that far. That's what you probably should have done.
Do what the Cowboys did. Put Miles Sanders at center.
Yes.
And let him snap it, really, and then just get all your athletes on there.
I did like the one play by the Chiefs. I don't know what you call it, where they were kind of, it was like ring around the Rosie. You saw where they lined up.
It didn't work.
It didn't work, but I was like, that's a pretty cool play. That threw me off. I've never seen that before.
They ran that in the regular season
a couple times
before, and they did have success doing it, I believe, where you don't know where the matchups are going instantly, so you kind of have to communicate. And the Eagles communicated very well on that one, but a fun play to watch.
And then you had a lineman, I believe, that was eligible for that play, but then the next play would have not been eligible.
Yep. So there's some different things there, but the Chiefs, at the end of the day, they were down 10 at half. If you're the Eagles, you had them right where you wanted them, right? You got them down by double digits, 2-score game. But Kansas City goes down. They score a touchdown immediately. Eagles were holding the ball. The Eagles looked like NDSU out there. Eagles time of possession, run the ball, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, convert all of those 3rd and manageables, keep the ball for 6-7 minute drives. Unfortunately, they were just getting stopped for field goals. The Chiefs weren't, not in the second half. They were going down and getting touchdowns just about every single time other than that very last field goal, which they easily could have scored a touchdown. Jerick McKinnon could have gone in, but he did the smart thing, which I'm sure drove so many people to the brink of insanity. Someone had Jerick McKinnon in a parlay bet, scoring a touchdown. I think Amanda here at our office at Radio FM Media had, although the Super Bowl squares thing, if it had been a touchdown, she would have won the Super Bowl squares and gotten like $400. But it was a field goal instead. So there's people that are drove crazy by that, but it's the right play. Jerick McKinnon has to stop short of the end zone. You have to sit down, take a knee, and run the clock out. Otherwise, the Eagles have a chance to go down and tie the game. So did the right thing there. Doesn't mean it won't drive some people nuts when they see that happen. I totally get it.
The sports bettors would go crazy. Yeah. Like anytime Jerick McKinnon touchdown, spread, points. If people maybe they gave points to the Chiefs.
Spread was good because the Eagles were plus 1.5.
But some people could do like alternate ones
spreads, yep.
Where they do like, I'm going to take Chiefs by 10, and I'm going to get really good odds.
Really good.
Or Chiefs by a touchdown, and they would have got really, really good odds because the Chiefs were underdogs for this game. But yeah, sports bettors are going crazy on that one.
Yeah, probably. So let's put it up. Poll question of the day: was it a hold? Was it not a hold? Let's do the thing everyone's doing and get our fans' opinions on it. James Bradbury, he grabs the jersey. You can say that he did grab the jersey a little bit or tugged on the jersey a little bit. of, was it Juju Smith-Schuster, the wide receiver there on that 3rd and 8 play, and the penalty flag was thrown. I'll say this, James Bradbury himself, the cornerback on the play, we're watching it right now here. It's on Fox Sports FS1 right now in our studio. He says at his locker room, yep, I grabbed him, I held him, I was hoping they were going to let it go. Here's my opinion, my take. Was it a hold? Yes, it was. Was it an egregious hold? No, it was not an egregious one. And you feel like at that moment of the game, in that, not even that moment of the game, but that game in general. Like I wouldn't have loved that flag being thrown in the first quarter. We always say if it's a penalty in the first quarter, it's a penalty in the fourth quarter. I think it's a penalty. He grabbed him. He did affect the route a little bit, but I don't think it was anything He didn't tackle him. He didn't really force him to take 3 or 4 extra steps. He barely tugged on the jersey at all. There really wasn't much to it. Even in the first quarter, if that had been called, it would have been like, ooh, that was a little soft. A little bit of a soft. Like a foul, yeah, but a little bit of a soft foul. I like in the game when they just let you really play. It has to be an egregious penalty to throw something. I didn't think it was egregious, but it doesn't come down to that. And I said it last night on Twitter. I'll say it again right here. The refs didn't affect this game really at all. No.
That was a great thing for a Super Bowl.
Not a single person was talking about the refs with 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. There wasn't any bad calls. They were good, solid calls. I think there was one 3rd down throw where you felt like, it could have been pass interference on the Eagles there in the first quarter, wasn't called. So maybe you can say it evens out there towards the end, whatever. But the refs were fine. They weren't the storyline whatsoever. It was really, really good. The field, the turf itself, played a much bigger role in the outcome of this game, I feel like, than the referees did. So many players slipping, so many chunks of grass. Even the kicker on one of the kickoffs, Jake Elliott slips. The field turf, for me, was way more of a factor in the game than the referees were.
Yeah, there was imagery on the TV broadcast, and they just showed the piles of cleats. I mean, they had guys going through different shoes trying to find good footing in this game. And I've got to find the number, but there were players that went through multiple sets of cleats just trying to figure out which one is going to hold on the right way.
Well, they had a whole crew picking up clumps of the turf after Rihanna's halftime performance. And we've talked about this before the show. It looked like the FCS title game.
Back in 2013.
You could pick a couple of years, honestly. 13's the most egregious one, but you could pick a couple of those national championship games down in Frisco where, man, that turf's coming up in clumps right now. It doesn't look like a very good surface, and people are slipping and sliding. That's what it looked like at the Super Bowl. And they spent 2 years making that turf. The reports came out that the NFL, they knew that this field had kind of had some issues, the one for the Cardinals at their home stadium. So they spent 2+ years making turf specifically for this game. They grew it on a big platform. They had the platform basically pushed out of the stadium every day for a couple of hours, so it got natural sunlight, took great care of it, spent over $800,000, and it was trash. It was still awful. It was a terrible surface to play on. And for those that didn't see it, Oklahoma State, the university, was kind of, they were out there, boasting, and they should. I get why they did this
at 5:38. So after kickoff,
saying this turf is coming from the University of Oklahoma, and this is something we have
Oklahoma State.
We have something we have helped cultivate. It's from here. It's our university is a big part of the Super Bowl. And that's really, really cool, and that's awesome. I totally get why they should do that. All the comments though were just they were ruthless to them because the surface, it didn't hold up. It just didn't from the get-go. People were sliding on the first couple possessions. It wasn't like this thing got worse as the game went on. It was bad early on. I don't get why they have to paint logos on the field all the time, all over the place. Whenever the painted logos are on, that's usually where it's worst. I don't know, just paint is more rubbery or something. I don't know what they're using. I don't know why, but it seems like every spot there's a logo is just the worst spots on the field, and the turf was bad. It was really bad. Well, plain and simple.
Eric Finkelstein probably getting an earful this morning because he's the director of events that puts all this on. And I found an article before the Super Bowl that was talking about how we constantly test the field for the next couple of weeks to ensure that it performs to the level we anticipate and expect. This article, by the way, nothing after the game. We do everything we can to minimize the amount of foot traffic and movement on the field. And then it's just funny at the end. He said, "There is nothing like that moment when the ball is kicked off." For him, there's a huge moment because of everything that's happening. Said all the work that has gone to the point finally comes together. It's the biggest moment in the lives of these two teams and their fans. We want to make sure everything is perfect and ready for that moment. Well, guess what? It was not perfect and ready for that moment.
Let's all put our tinfoil hats on together.
Oh,
Let's
gosh,
put our
here comes
tinfoil
Mr.
hats
Conspiracy.
on. Who sabotaged the field? Or do we really think that they did that bad of a job on the
Well,
field? Who sabotaged it thinking that it was going to help out a certain team and maybe their
But how
plan
does it help out a team?
Maybe
It's the same for both teams.
But the Eagles have a really, really good pass rush. If the field is all chopped up, they can't get that oomph in their pass rush, can't get around, can't cut as good. 0 sacks for the Eagles in this game. I'm just going to say it. There's 1 for the Chiefs, and that I believe that was considered when Jalen Hurts fumbled it and they returned it for a touchdown. I believe that was the only sack in that game. Hey,
I think
it's a tinfoil hat moment.
I think we were massively underrating how good the Chiefs' offensive line was. All the talk coming into the Super Bowl was Eagles' offensive line is unbelievably good, which they are. And their pass rush, they have 4 double-digit sack guys. They have the best defensive line ever. They can get after the quarterback. They're going to make Mahomes' life miserable. He can't move because of the ankle. And then the Chiefs' offensive line took it personally. The Chiefs' offensive line graded out as the second-best offensive line in the regular season, right behind the Eagles. They were every bit as good as the Eagles' offensive line. They just don't maybe have the personalities of Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson and all of those guys. So I'm not surprised at all that Mahomes wasn't sacked. I thought they were going to come up with a really good game plan. They chipped. The running backs were chipping Josh Sweat and Hassan Reddick. They were not letting them go completely one-on-one all the time because I know they were really good. And that offensive line for the Chiefs gave Mahomes all the time he really needed. He was pressured some, had to escape. But he was fine back there, able to sit back and find Travis Kelce, and Juju Smith-Schuster had a really big game, and they also ran the ball effectively. I thought Isaiah Pacheco ran the ball extremely well in that game. If you had Pacheco's over, you definitely hit that because I think he had like 90-something yards.
Big holes for either running backs, and then Jerick McKinnon getting involved late too. It seemed like, well, in that second half, the Chiefs were able to do whatever they want, whatever adjustments they made at halftime. Andy Reid and the offense, wow, did it work? Because I believe they scored on every single possession in that second half.
What they score would have been 24 points in the second half.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
3 touchdowns and 1 field goal.
That's the Eagles' defense. And I said it. This is what I said on Friday when I called into the show. I said the Eagles' defense is the best-rated defense. I get that. Like, you can go through all the numbers you want, and they rate out the best, right? The Vikings were getting torched all year for being frauds because, the stats don't really, that doesn't really add up and this or that, and, didn't face the hardest schedule. I thought the Eagles kind of look the same to me on defense. Yeah, their numbers look a lot better, but they were blowing people out on offense, so it's going to make your defense look better when you're playing ahead all the time. And they really didn't face anybody good offensively for the last month plus. They faced the Titans without any sort of quarterback threat. They faced the Saints with Andy Dalton and lost to them. And then in the playoffs, they faced Daniel Jones and the Giants, who, let's be honest, that's not a good offense. They looked good against the terrible Vikings defense, but that's because the Vikings are terrible, not because the Giants were anything good on offense. And then they faced the 4th-string quarterback for the 49ers. They faced a team without a quarterback. Like, I said that coming in. I thought their defense was not going to get exposed, but I thought the Chiefs were going to be able to move the ball just fine, and especially in the second half, they were able to.
They faced a 49ers team that, not really their 4th-string quarterback, technically yes, but really, let's be honest, a fan from the stands came down and played in that game, and they just threw a helmet on him. But I go back and I look, of course joking, I go back and I look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes, 27 years old, 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them. I think this is a start of a dynasty in Kansas City. I'm just going to go ahead and go out and say it. I think that this is a dynasty-building type team. They're going to continue to have success. Of course, they'll start as the favorites coming into this next season. But I think they've got all the pieces in place, and they're only going to continue to get better with Andy Reid and Mahomes.
I would already argue that it already is a dynasty. 5 straight AFC Championship games at home, it already is.
I'd say with this win, it's now officially a dynasty.
Yeah, now they have to be a top 2 every year favorite to win the Super Bowl. When you have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes there, and then Travis Kelce too. Those 3 guys, and then you can have Chris Jones on defense. They have to have good favorable odds. I'm sure the Super Bowl odds have already come out for this next season because, well, now we're on to the next page. Turn the page over. We're on to next season already.
When you were talking about the field earlier, I'm not trying to go back, but I had this thought in my mind. I had to get it out. I think there's a new sponsored show that we can have here on Bison 1660. You can have a really nice voiceover where it's tonight on a bendy conspiracy. And then there it is. It's a bendy conspiracy. You come up with everything that you think's a conspiracy, Micah.
That's my conspiracy. The field was sabotaged.
He's got a few of them.
They're working.
It probably helped the
years
Chiefs
on
a
that
little
field.
bit more.
2 years on that field, and that's what they come out with.
Oh, it was
That's
terrible.
surprising.
It was awful.
So that's why I think there was some sabotage going on.
I will say the Super Bowl odds have come out next year, as everybody would have guessed, right? Who do you think are the favorites?
Chiefs.
Chiefs are
You are
one.
correct. They are the favorites at plus 600. Give me, who do you think's in the top? Let's go top 6.
Cowboys are in there.
Bengals.
You got
Bengals-
two of them.
Bengals
Bengals
are-
and Cowboys. Bengals are plus 900. Cowboys are plus 1,400. Cowboys have the 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Are the Bengals at 2?
Bengals are at 4.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
So you got Chiefs, Bengals, Cowboys.
Niners.
Niners are in there.
Eagles.
They're number 3. Eagles are number 5 at plus 900. They're the second NFC team behind the 49ers, who you mentioned.
Vikings.
Don't tell me the Bills.
The Bills are the number 2
That's
favorites
ridiculous.
to win the
They're-
Super Bowl.
They're all
Plus-
flash.
plus 700. So it goes Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, Bengals, Eagles, Cowboys.
Where are the Vikings at? No
Oh,
list.
Are they top 10?
Still scrolling. They're plus 4,500.
Take those odds right now.
That would be
Go to
1,
the-
2, 3, 4, 5.
Whenever you say keep scrolling, keep scrolling. That's-
Counting.
19th
counting.
best odds.
Really? 19?
19th,
I would expect
bottom
better.
half. They're behind the Cleveland Browns,
Oh, my gosh.
the Denver Broncos, New York Jets, Las Vegas Raiders, Miami Dolphins, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jags have the 10th best odds.
Wow.
No,
This is
12.
ridiculous.
No, 10th. Jaguars are the 10th best odds at plus 2,800.
Put some respect.
And the kicker of all, the Vikings are behind Super Bowl odds for next year. They are behind the Detroit Lions, who have the 12th best odds, actually tied for the 11th best odds to win the Super Bowl at plus 3,000.
Put some respect on the Vikings' name right now. KOC, Brian Flores. This defense is going to be great next year.
When you mentioned Detroit, guys, I have to go. It has that place below us is now officially frozen over. I will see you later.
Detroit, better odds than the Vikings for the Super Bowl next year, even though the Vikings just won the division. Who cares about that stuff? But, yeah, the Super Bowl favorites for next year, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, Tyreek Hill, man. It was supposed to be all about Tyreek Hill not being there, and they look just fine without him throwing two. And I think when we look back on this Super Bowl in 4 or 5 years, we're going to say, wow, like, we think Mahomes is really good. We're going to go look back at the Super Bowl and be, I don't know how they did it. Because, yes, Travis Kelce's amazing. But we look back in 5 years and say the receiving core for the Chiefs was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Sky Moore, Juju Smith-Schuster. Did McCole Hardman play?
No, he was hurt.
Like
Watson, Justin Watson.
Justin Watson. Like, that's the guys he was throwing to. And they scored 38 points against the number 1 ranked defense in the entire NFL. Mahomes is a magician.
Can we squash another thing? Tinfoil hat moment. Mahomes was not hurt. He was not hurt in the game.
Tonight on the Bindi Conspiracy.
He was hurt during the game.
That he was faking it.
No, he was not.
Did you see him sprint on that 20+ yard run? He is not hurt.
That was after halftime. You know what they went in and did at halftime? After he not sprained it again, but he definitely rolled it. He tweaked it a little bit there before half. You have an elongated halftime show with Rihanna, which, by the way, killed it, slayed that halftime show, in my opinion. Yeah, they shot that thing up real good.
Have you seen
It's a Super
Varsity
Bowl.
Blues? This is what they do at halftime.
Yeah.
That's
He
what
wasn't
they did at
feeling
halftime.
anything. Along with the adrenaline, he was fine. Now, this morning, it might be swollen up quite a bit. I think he hurt it. But he wasn't going to stop him at all.
He definitely hurt it. He was in good. Like, when you saw him limping back, there's no way to fake that great of a limp.
Yes, he can.
That was an
Yes,
an
he can.
extravagant
You can
limp.
fake a limp.
But not that limp.
On that 20-yard run you're talking about, you can see his face when they did the slow-mo zoomed-in thing. His face was grimacing the whole time.
He didn't grimace until the end of it.
He grimaced, though. Even when he took off, he's thinking to himself, I don't want to take off, but
Some
I
people
have
just
to.
have that weird face when you start running, and he does.
Is that going to be your face when you try and go under 5 at the 40-yard dash, Bison 1660 Pro Day?
Yes, that when I successfully go under 5 seconds.
When you tear everything in your body trying to go under 5 seconds. It's more like it. So let's go around the table. I think we already talked about it a little bit. And we will talk with a couple of people that were on site as well on the show. You should mention the guest list, of course. It is Monday, so we've got a little men's basketball chatter. We'll switch topics and talk NDSU men's basketball here in about 5 minutes with Dexter Warner at 11:30. But at noon, Brandon Kristzal, our Fox Sports Radio correspondent, BK, who joined us all last week, was phenomenal there. He'll stop by for one more appearance with us to go over his thoughts from the Super Bowl. And then Dan Beyer, Fox Sports Radio as well, was on the field moments before the game got going, was there in the stadium for the entire Super Bowl. We'll get his thoughts as well as he is driving back to Fox Sports Radio headquarters in Southern California today, and we'll get his thoughts at 12:30 as well. So we'll ask them for their opinions on it. I already said my opinion. Was it a foul? Yes. Would I have thrown the flag? If I'm that official that threw the flag for the holding call at the end of the game, am I throwing it? Probably not. Micah?
I think it wasn't enough to call it a hold. Did he push him off of his line a little bit? No, but I think that's football. That's what defensive backs do. They kind of do whatever they can to get that edge a little bit because we know that the rules favor the offense. I didn't think it was enough to be a hold. Frankly, that's where I'm at, and not a believer.
I take sides with the conspiracy theorist over there that, yes, it definitely was not. Was it a hold? Yes, but was it worthy of being called in this moment, in this game? No. And it was not, in my opinion, a hold that should have been called.
I think you could probably go back and find another 5 or 6 plays or something almost exactly like that happened. Almost exactly, and it wasn't called.
And did it change? Did it cause the Chiefs to be victorious? No. There were several things that the Eagles didn't do right in this game. Jalen Hurts dropping a ball, being ran back for a touchdown. Yeah. That was the biggest moment for me. That was a huge deciding moment. You're right, because that was the only turnover in the game, I believe, correct? Yep, only turnover in the game was that one. And he just dropped it.
And that, the contact on the holding call, that wasn't the reason the pass was or incomplete. That's not the reason. It wasn't going to be completed. I don't think it affected things enough where that's the reason Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't able to go and make the catch. So I probably wouldn't have thrown the flag, but also that doesn't mean that the Chiefs wouldn't have still won by the exact same score. Because if they don't get that 3rd and 8, they kick a field goal. The thing is, it would have ended with more drama. It would have been a minute 30, no timeouts. Eagles got to go down and kick a field goal to tie or a touchdown to take the lead and win. Like that. It would have been more of a dramatic Super Bowl finish than Jerick McKinnon takes a knee and then they take 2 more knees and they kick a chip shot field goal. That's how. It doesn't seem like that's how a Super Bowl should end. Doesn't have the right fitting or the fitting end, I should say, to a game of that magnitude and an entire season of build-up. But still was a great game overall. That call does not, in my opinion, really change the result. Would it have given the Eagles another chance? Probably, but I don't think it really changes the result. And the referees, like I said before, the referees were great the entire game. For me, the field played way more of a reason as to what happened in this game and played way more of a factor than the referees did. And it was talked about more. The field was talked about way more than the referees were during the entirety of the game. So that's kind of our thoughts on that one. If you have any thoughts, feel free to call in, 701-476-1660. Any sad Eagles fans out there, well, that's your rant. You can rant a little bit. You can vent and rant with us. If you'd like to, you can call on into our hotline there, Epic Companies hotline, 701-476-1660. You can also text us at that very same number. Congratulations, by the way. I think it was Kelsey won our Super Sunday package last week you guys gave away, so thank you for doing that. Congratulations to Kelsey, and thanks to everybody for playing along with our Super Sunday giveaway. And brought to you there, of course, by the great folks at Sickies. And you guys had some Sickies in here. I was very jealous of that. I heard you had Sickies, and I didn't know that was going to be a thing. Otherwise, I would have ordered it earlier in the week because I love that place. Great food. So there you go. Lowdown for the show. You got Dexter Warner coming up here in just a minute or so. And we've also got a couple of guests from the Super Bowl later on at 12 and 12:30. You're listening to The Insiders, brought to you each and every day by the fine folks at Proceed, home of the Right Choice and Right Stuff programs, online at Proceed.net. If you need seed, think Proceed. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Dexter Warner joins us to talk about 2 big wins for the Bison men's basketball team next.
Always having a good time, but never letting it get out of hand.
I approach you from the front and kind of like, wow, this dude's pretty serious. Then I walk away and you're like, he likes to party with 2 R's.
You've got The Insiders on Bison 1660.
We take great pride in really doing all the research and the work behind the scenes to make sure that our products just work.
We have our own staff member that helps pick the hybrids and the varieties that work in our area. It's meant for you, not for somebody 200 miles away.
We test our seed locally. We produce our seed locally, so we get to see our production fields, where they need to be, and if they work there.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Hey, business owners. You have your banker, you have your insurance guy, but do you have your door guy? Now you do. DavTech Window Services also specializes in commercial door and window repair and replacement. DavTech is proud to be known for their excellent commercial services as on the NDSU campus. Choose the door and window experts that will deliver top-rated products as well as the experienced technicians that do it right the first time. A decade of service with a century of experience. Online at DavTechWindowServices.com. That's DavTechWindowServices.com. Acme Tools continues to grow. Their new Kubota dealership building is under construction in South Fargo, and as Acme grows, so does their team. This family-owned business of over 75 years is now hiring for many positions, including diesel and Kubota techs, electric and lead service techs, warehouse leads, sales associates, and more. Working at Acme is not about punching a clock. It's enjoying each day at a family-owned business that believes in providing great pay and benefits for their employees. Build your career and apply online at acmetools.jobs.
All you need is love in the Lodge. Dive into Sweetheart Week with our red-hot lingerie party and steal your heart specials on our favorite festive cocktails like Sex on the Beach, Buttery Nipple, and Porn Star Shots. Are you a fan of Twin Peaks? Sign up for the E-Club to stay up to date on all things Twin Peaks and score free stuff. Signing up is easy. Just visit twinpeaksrestaurant.com/peaks-club to get started today. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
Need a little Valentine present to enjoy with the love of your life, your sewing machine? Enjoy a blind date at your sewing machine from Ray-Ban Sew & Quilt Shop. It's the perfect night in. The contents are a surprise. Each package will include all the supplies to make a mystery project you will love. These are easy, beginner-friendly projects that everyone can enjoy. This Valentine's Day, enjoy a blind date with your sewing machine with Ray-Ban Sew & Quilt Shop. For more details or to purchase your kit, stop in the shop or visit ray-ban.com.
About a month ago, we had some unexpected plumbing issues. We called Valley Service Mechanical in a panic and were pleasantly surprised with the professional that came to our rescue. He took the time to explain the issues to us, and you could really tell he enjoyed what he was doing and the pride he had representing Valley Service Mechanical.
When your heating and cooling needs help and your plumbing is on the fritz, call Valley Service Mechanical, 701-293-5701. Online at valleyservice.net.
Theraldson Ethanol. The ethanol plant located in Castleton is accepting applications for a process operator. Work 4 days on, 4 days off, night and day swing shifts. Applicant must have a general understanding of process and operating procedures and a willingness to learn procedures for the ethanol industry. Theraldson Ethanol offers on-the-job training and an excellent benefits program. Email your resume to hr@theraldsonethanol.com or apply in person at 3549 153rd Avenue Southeast in Castleton.
Shop the largest new vehicle inventory in the area, only at Corwin Auto. Corwin Auto has over 600 new vehicles available, and one of them can be yours. You heard me. Over 600 new cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers for you to choose from. With inventory like that, you don't have to settle. Find exactly what you are looking for. Have a trade? Get top dollar when you purchase any new in-stock or incoming unit. What are you waiting for? Head to any Corwin Auto location today or shop online, corwinauto.com.
If you need any professional advice, they may not be your guys.
You want answers! I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But if you need information on NDSU, then they got you covered. It's The Insiders on Bison 1660.
I don't know what Micah Bindy's doing back behind the board in our Theraldson Ethanol. It looks like you were doing the skull chant. Is that what that was?
Kind of, but okay. I was clapping with
the beat of the music coming back from break. Okay,
we're the band that's bringing it back. I was the air guitar. Micah was kind of that metronome that keeps everything going.
Okay, that's I guess that works. Coming back from break. Welcome back in. It is the Insiders. Andy Rickoff, Micah Bindy, and Rob Hipp. Apparently, a house band forming here inside the Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center on the Insiders. And we will hopefully have Dexter Warner on here in just a little bit, talk about some NDSU men's basketball, but your thoughts as well on all things Super Bowl 57, how it ended. Is this now a dynasty in Kansas City? I say yes. Couple of Super Bowl wins, 5 straight AFC championship game appearances for them as well. It's going to be a heck of a run, though, as Mahomes, that deal starts to kick in and it's more and more of the cap. Now, I'll say the cap's going up and up. You can spend more money every year in the NFL, too, so they're going to be able to sign players just fine, but the AFC is loaded, and it's going to be, I think, harder and harder for the Chiefs to hold on to this crown because Josh Allen is coming, and Joe Burrow is not any further behind, and I think Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence are going to be great as well. You've got a whole host of a good 5-6 quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson, still a threat if he can stay healthy. You got some quarterbacks there that are going to be a threat in the AFC for a long time to come, but the Chiefs definitely on top of that mantle right now. A couple of guests from the Super Bowl going to be on with us at noon and 12:30. But let's talk NDSU men's basketball here for a good segment because they did exactly what we said last week they had to do. They had a bad week on the road. You had to come home, and you had to get a couple of wins against teams below you in the standings. You're at home. You have to win both of them. They did just that, and they won them in fairly convincing fashion. What was it, 32-5 early against Omaha or something like that? Just completely ran them out of the shack. And then trailed at half against Denver, but second half was phenomenal, and Bowdoin Scunberg 30 points. They win both games.
Yeah, you have to come out and take care of business. Credit Bison Nation, too. Thank you for everyone who showed up. And it was a day where they gave away at Omaha the metal lunch pails. I didn't get one of those, though. So
little Throwback Thursday.
Little Throwback Thursday. Credit the team, too, the social media team, Wes and all those guys. Amazing leading up to it. But, yeah, you had to take care of business versus Omaha, and the Bison came out. They started strong and early, led by many as 30 at one point in that first half, and a great performance. A little bit tougher go of it on Saturday versus Denver, trailed by 2. I believe it was 30-28, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the first half. Just trailed by 2, but then came back slinging. Really, Bowdoin Scunberg carried that team. I had a chance to talk to head coach Dave Richmond this morning on the TV show that we record for the week, and it was Scunberg. I mean, yeah, it's a team effort, but Scunberg really carrying the guys. 30 points, a career high for him. Bison shooting over 77%, I believe, from three-point land in that second half as well. So they came out, did what they had to do, and took care of both of these teams. And we've mentioned about the dramatic movement in the Summit League. I mean, those 2 wins and a couple of other things happened in the Summit. The Bison are suddenly finding themselves in third place in the Summit League.
We go from 6th to 3rd?
Just boom, overnight.
Just like that. And I think the most important thing, with those 2 wins, now you're not completely safe here, but unless you lose all 4, they're not going to be in that play-in tournament. And that's huge. You can't be in that play-in tournament when you're in the bottom 4, and you got to play an extra game. You have to win 4 games now instead of 3. You can't be there. It's going to be not impossible, but pretty close to it, I feel like, for a team between 7 and 10. You're already going to be fighting an uphill battle because you're going to be facing the best teams. But now you have to win an extra game, too. It's going to be near impossible. So they stay out of that, and now you got a realistic chance of even working up to one of those top 2 slots. Not the first slot, but the second spot.
I think you look at the remaining schedule too. I believe NDSU probably has the toughest remaining schedule in the Summit League on the men's side because you go to Kansas City coming up on Thursday, you play Oral Roberts on Saturday, and then you've got to come home. And none of these games are gimmies, obviously with Kansas City or Oral Roberts, but especially St. Thomas here at the Schill Center, and then wrapping up things versus Western Illinois, 2 teams that have already beaten the Bison this season on their home courts, but we know how tough it's been to play on the road this season. But by no means are these games any gimme games. Everything is up for grabs, and a very tough finish up here in the final 4 games for NDSU men.
And South Dakota State is 2 games ahead of NDSU, and they stand in the standings right now. This is South Dakota State's remaining schedule. They go to Denver and Omaha this week. They're probably going to get 2 wins there, but it's on the road. You can't say for sure in this conference, especially when you're going on the road. We've seen teams like NDSU even drop some games on the road you feel like they're the better team in, but they can't find a way to get that one on the road. Home venues have been pretty strong, and then they close at home against Kansas City and ORU. So they've got a pretty tough slate there as well. The Bison not completely out of things for that number 2 seed right now.
A couple other things that I want to bring up these past 2 games. Grant Nelson has 3 double-double games in a row right now. SDSU, Omaha, and this last one versus Denver. And then also...
Didn't he almost have a triple-double?
He was 2 assists away from a triple-double in this last one. But then, as well, in the Omaha game, all 5 starters got into double-digit points. They almost replicated that and did it again on Saturday. Andrew Morgan needed 1 more point. So the starters are playing outstanding. And whoever can pop off and have the big game, it can be anybody in that starting lineup right now.
Getting some good production from the bench, too. Somebody coming off. Seems like, at least in those 2 games, just a 2-game sample, but in those 2 games, it seemed like somebody would come off the bench and contribute pretty well as well.
Jakari White had a good game on Thursday night. He had, I believe, double-digit points off of the bench against Omaha.
And then Tajavis Miller having a solid performance as well. So we've seen those two guys really step up. And I talked to Coach too, and Dex and I had mentioned this with Coach in postgame. You have to have that you always have to have a good relationship with your head coach with your players and vice versa. But you've really got to have a solid relationship as a head coach and your point guard. And it's something that Dave and I have talked about several times. But there was times to where Damari was making mistakes, as players do, and Coach was coaching him. And what I love about Damari as a newcomer on this team and a freshman, he was just looking at the coach very sternly, shaking his head like, yes, sir. He would look back over at him. He is a very teachable young man, even in tough situations, and that's why he is going to continue to grow, and I believe going to end up being a very, very good player for this team for many years to come.
So those were two huge wins for the Bison. They get a couple of wins there. Again, one, pull yourself closer to second. It's not completely out of the – I mean, SDSU's lost some games that have been head-scratchers as well. They got to go on the road here a little bit, so – by no means is it out of the realm of possibilities they get to that 2 seed, but the most important thing is they've just about sealed things up where you can say they're not going to be in that play-in tournament, which is every bit as important, I feel like, as getting a top 2 seed. Top 2 seed would be a huge advantage. It really is, especially this year, in my opinion, with the changed format, and you get that first team you're going to be facing is going to have to be playing back-to-back games. You get them when they're a little bit tired, possibly. I think it's a huge advantage this year. So it'd be great to see them climb even more and get to that number 2 seed. But at least they're not going to be playing in that play-in tournament, which I think is a huge advantage now for them. And then the other side of this, we always say, and it's an overused cliche, want to be playing your best basketball in March or playing your best basketball at the end of February going into the conference tournament. And a lot of people say it, and you can kind of be like, oh, see, it's happening, but you can't really back it up with a lot of stats. I go back and look at maybe some of the records. I feel like Dave Richmond's teams at the end of February, their record's got to be like an 800 win percentage. They win so many games in the final 3 weeks of the regular season, it seems like every single year. And maybe I'm just being hometown homer guy, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'll go back and look at the schedules. It seems like almost every year, not that they go undefeated in this 3-week stretch, but they're winning like 5 of 6. Or the one game they lose, let's say the ORU game they have coming up, even if they don't win it, it's like it's a 2-point game, and you felt like you had them, and you're right there. I feel like Dave Richmond's team, we always preach it with him that he always wants to be playing his best basketball, or the team wants to be playing their best basketball at the end of February, and maybe they haven't gotten those wins in the non-conference against the Power 5 opponents for a while. I get that can be frustrating for the fan base. You'd love to see some of those wins, right, because they're huge staple wins in a program. But, man, at the end of February, do they play well. And I think they're starting to maybe do it again. And now the thing is, you got to go do it on the road. They got these wins at home, great wins, and they looked dominant in both of them, exactly the way you want your team to look. The challenge for everybody in the league this year, other than ORU on the men's side and other than SDSU on the women's side, everybody else's challenge has been, can I take what I'm doing at home and bring it on the road? Because there's been a lot of games where you're like, how did such and such team not only lose a game, but lose it by 10 or 20 points on the road? It doesn't make sense. How did they lose that game by that margin? What's happening here? So now the challenge ahead, and they know it, but the challenge for them is going to be, can you go on the road to tough venues, Kansas City and Oral Roberts, and can you get a couple of wins, or at least split it? Obviously, ORU's the cream of the crop this year, right? 14-0, we get that. But can you go on the road and maybe steal a game there that nobody else has been able to do? Can you get one win on the road there as well? Because with South Dakota State having to also play those same two teams, you feel like maybe they lose both of them. So if you win one of them, you're gaining a game on them, and that's huge to try and get that 2 seed.
Yeah, and I think the Bison in league play 3 and 4, if I'm not mistaken, on the road this year. You've already mentioned how tough it is. We mentioned
3 and 4 on the road. Yep,
3 and 4 on the road. Those 3 victories on the road. It started with that 5-game win streak. You go back to North Dakota up at Grand Forks, and then of course dropping a couple there at South Dakota and South Dakota State. The other 2 wins on the road were at Denver and at Omaha. So these next 4 extremely critical, especially these 2 on the road. I think if you're a Bison, if you can get one of 2, of course you want to get both, but I think if you can come away from this road trip getting one of 2, I'd like to see it. If it was a one of 2, I'd like to see it against Oral Roberts, but really I think you've got to get at least one of these next 2 to really build some more confidence with this team. The effort's always there with these guys. That's not a question. It's just how do you build that confidence going down the stretch?
I believe the tiebreaker is – so first, if you finish – let's say NDSU and SDSU finish tied. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head. Obviously, they split this season. NDSU won here. Jacks won down in Brookings. The next tiebreaker is you go to the top of the standings and you do comparisons to every team that you played in conference, starting at the top and working your way down. So the first team would be obviously Oral Roberts. So far, NDSU and USD have both lost a game to Oral Roberts. If they finish tied in that category, that would be the tiebreaker there. So if they finish tied against Oral Roberts, you'd go down from there. The next team right now is St. Thomas. NDSU has lost a game against St. Thomas. SDSU went 1-1 versus St. Thomas this year. So the Bison would have to get a win against St. Thomas to equal that up. Otherwise, St. Thomas could be a tiebreaker in that scenario with what your record is against the Tommies. The next one is Western Illinois. Went 1-1 with South Dakota State. NDSU will need to get a win the second time against Western Illinois to even that thing up. After that, it would go to Kansas City as it stands right now. A whole bunch more can still shake out in the standings and how this is going to be affected with 4 games left, 3 games left for some teams. But as it stands right now, I think the tiebreakers would go way down the standings, so it's going to be kind of convoluted to try and figure that one out.
So I did some digging on the schedules from past seasons in February.
Okay.
So last year, NDSU goes 7-1.
See.
Then we go 2 years back. This was the COVID year, so then they're playing the same team back-to-back, which I get it, but that's not always a fun thing to do. It's hard to beat the team 2 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
They went 4-4 that year.
Yeah.
But then I went a year past that, another 7-1 February. So Bison played great basketball in February heading into the Summit League tournament.
Well, I'd go back. Let's go back even further. Let's keep going back and see what it is, because it can kind of throw the COVID season out. It was weird. You're playing a team on back-to-back nights. They'll make adjustments. Some different things happen there, so you can kind of throw that one out a little bit, which, strangely enough, helps my argument even better. But I just think David Richmond's teams really do. You can go through the numbers, like they just play well in the month of February, especially the last 3 weeks of the regular season. On the flip side of it, before we take a break here, the flip side, the unfortunate side, is the women's basketball team went on the road and unfortunately dropped 2 games. And I think 2 games, they went in with a realistic feeling of we're going to get wins. And I think should have gone in with that because they were tied in second place going into the weekend. And you're facing 2 teams that were going into the weekend in the 6th and the 7th spot in the conference. So I think there was legitimate optimism of going on the road here. Winning both of these games, or for sure getting a split on the road, is exactly what you were hoping for. And unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And, there's a whole host of reasons probably for it. We'll dive into it a little bit with the head coach, Jory Collins, on the women's basketball radio show later tonight at 7 o'clock, 7 to 7:30. So if you tune in for that, you'll hear all about it. We'll dive into that stuff as to why it happened. You kind of have to just, at this point of the season, you got to lick your wounds, move on, and refocus because the games, they come right back at you. They're not going to slow down. 2 more games this week. The good news, if you're a Bison fan for the women, yeah, you lost both there. That really sucks. Didn't play well enough on offense. Scored 12 points in the first quarter versus Omaha, 11 points in the first quarter versus Denver. Offense just struggled out of the gate a little bit, unfortunately. The good news, Oral Roberts was at home and lost both of their games too. Oral Roberts lost against St. Thomas and Western Illinois at home in Tulsa, so the Bison are still tied for second place. Unfortunately, they're tied for second place, not just with Oral Roberts anymore, but also with UND. UND won both games on the road against the same 2 teams, Omaha and Denver. So now if you look at the standings, South Dakota State's at 14-0 on the women's side. Obviously heads and tails above everyone. They've actually wrapped up the regular season title. UND 8-6, NDSU 8-6, Oral Roberts 8-6. And after that, USD's at 7-7. USD's right there as well with 3 games remaining for some, 4 games remaining for some others. But right now, that is where everybody stands. The Bison have lost 3 in a row. UND has won 3 in a row. They've kind of catapulted themselves up here. But a 3-way tie for second place, and the Bison will welcome Oral Roberts into the Shack this Saturday here in Fargo. So 2 big games, pack that place, make it a fun environment. This is still a second-place team, a team that can do something they've never done, be outright second-place finishers in the Summit League. Never been in second place outright. They were tied for second place one year, never been the 2 seed in the Summit League tournament. They can wrap that up as well if they get a couple of wins here down the stretch. So come out there and pack the place on Thursday versus Kansas City, but especially Saturday versus Oral Roberts, because that's going to be a huge game. But now that you've got 3 teams tied, every single game is going to be magnified that much more for second place on the women's side.
And remember that Oral Roberts game has been moved up to a noon tip-off at the Shill Center, so a noon tip on Saturday if you're heading out to the game. So just wanted to make sure everybody in Bison Nation knows that.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that one. It moved up an hour earlier than it typically would be, so make sure you get out there for both of those games for the women. And again, the tiebreakers are all sorts of convoluted, and as it stands right now, if I'm NDSU, I still control my destiny in my own hands. If I'm the women's team, if I'm Jory Collins, that's how I got to look at it, because right now you're tied in second place. One, if you win out, you win all your games. That includes a win over Oral Roberts, so you'd finish ahead of ORU. If UND finishes with all wins here too, and you finish with the same record with UND, I'm pretty sure it would just work itself all the way down, and the tiebreaker would end up being your record against South Dakota. UND went tied, so they went 1-1 versus South Dakota. NDSU swept USD. So that would be your tiebreaker. The Bison and UND would both have lost both games to South Dakota State. They would split with Oral Roberts, and then the next tiebreaker, the next team down, NDSU won both games against USD, and the Fighting Hawks only won one. So I still say NDSU controls their destiny. They have second place in their hands. They're in the driver's seat. You just got to win some games here, especially these games at home. The next two are very important here at home against Kansas City and ORU. We'll take a break. We'll come back, wrap up hour number one for us next. Some more thoughts on what happened in Super Bowl 57. And then in hour number two, plenty of guests on it as well, plus your phone calls, emails, and text messages, and a whole lot more here on The Insiders when we come back.
Champions play here.
This man was a bona fide scrub. He can't play. No disrespect whatsoever, but I'm sorry to tell everybody the truth. He has small hands. He can't catch the ball.
You're home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
Hi, I'm Grant Nelson, NDSU Bison basketball player. Whether it's playing basketball or driving in my car, I want to do everything to the best of my ability, on the court and off the court. So when I'm in the car, I up my game with the Drive for Less program from Nodak Insurance. I could save up to 30% on my premium just for driving safely. To me, that's a slam dunk. Download the Nodak Insurance app today.
Something we hear often is, I didn't know physical therapy could help with that. I'm JT from Apex Physical Therapy and Wellness. With our patients, we take the time to work on muscles, joints, and exercises, all in one visit. Patients often tell us that their last therapy experience didn't do much for their pain, and that when they come to Apex, they feel great. We customize our treatments to meet our patients' needs. It's fulfilling to hear how much they've been helped by Apex. To let Apex help you out, schedule your free consultation today. Visit apexptwellness.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Mostly sunny and warmer to start your new work week with highs in the upper 30s. South wind 7 to 17 miles per hour with gusts as high as 24. Tonight, increasing clouds with a low around 20. South wind 6 to 13 miles per hour with gusts as high as 18. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. And with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
Other value menus have burritos, maybe even nachos. But only Taco John's Valuest menu has the cheese-loving audacity to put nachos inside a burrito. With crunchy tortilla chips, creamy nacho cheese, and zesty sauces, our new Nacho Crunch burritos pack 2 melty faves into one. Try them with seasoned beef for just $2, or grilled chicken for $3. This might be our cheesiest menu ever. The Valuest menu, only at Taco John's. Bigger, bolder, better. Download our app, earn free food.
Rick Electric wants to say thanks for a great 2022 and looks forward to serving you and all new customers in the new year. Plus, Rick Electric wants to say thanks for voting them the best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley. Since 1964, Rick Electric has been serving homeowners and businesses with troubleshooting, repairs, new construction, and over a dozen projects in my home. Rick Electric. Schedule online or request an estimate at rickelectric.com.
Golf Addiction has some great news. They know you're sick of the snow, so get back on the course at Golf Addiction. Grab your group and take advantage of the brand new 2-3-4 deal Sunday through Thursday from 8 to 5. Golf 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours on the newly upgraded simulators at great prices. 2 hours just $50, 3 hours only $75, and 4 hours of golf just $100. Plus, enjoy a full-service bar and food at Golf Addiction, your indoor virtual golf bar and grill serving the FM area for over 8 years.
At Hansen Runsvold Funeral Home, one of the greatest honors I have is to be invited into the life of a family who has called on us during a time of need. It is such a blessing to be a part of a community that genuinely values a life well lived and the importance of honoring that life. Having been born and raised in Fargo, and now raising my son here, I have a deeper sense of what it means to be an active member of our community. The bonds we shared, the stories we live, Make us who we are. Hanson Runsvold, helping families look to the future with hope.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
You're listening to your home for NDSU athletics.
To the 10, cuts it back, shot in there, baby!
Bison 1660.
This hour of The Insiders brought to you by Rick Electric. Rick Electric been serving this area for over 56 years. They're the pros, whether business or residential. They got you covered with all your electrical needs. The pros at Rick Electric will get it done for you. Online, rickelectric.com. Again, the Chiefs get the win, 38-35 in Super Bowl 57. Couldn't be happier. They take down the Philadelphia Eagles, all for it, and I went perfect in all the playoff picks this year, so I finished on top of the mountain there. But I don't really win anything for that. Meanwhile, Super Bowl Squares, his first year ever doing them here at Radio FM Media, Rob Hipp walked away a winner, and I was very salty about that and still am to this moment.
Hey, well, I was, I think, like plus $65 overall because I got in the $20 squares with my father-in-law, and the fourth quarter, they ended. See, I don't like this. I like final, not fourth quarter, because I thought, okay, we're going to be going to overtime, so it's going to give me a chance. But they ended at the fourth quarter in his squares.
Oh, I really don't like
that. I'm not a fan of that, but the payout in that was $1,000. I still came ahead. I lost 40 there, but then I made up the money here. So yeah, it came out. I came out ahead about 60.
Never won it here. Anything, not first quarter, anything. But the first time you won, was it a halftime score is what you had, correct?
Yeah, I had the halftime score.
That late field goal got you.
The field goal got me. Now, going back, Andy, and talking about, the things you're getting right and the things that I'm not getting right, boy, I had a huge boogaboo because I don't believe in the broadcaster jinx. I really don't. There's nothing that I can do on the air that I can say or that I can do that would have any
100% believe in it,
unless I was screaming and yelling and throwing stuff on a court. Micah Mindy and I were chatting, and he recorded something that I said during the Bison game. I believe it was on Saturday, Micah.
Javis Miller was at the free throw line. You mentioned that he was perfect. We'll just let everyone listen to the clip.
Yeah, just listen.
I pulled this.
He's a perfect 2 of 2 tonight. Here's the front end. It's good. He'll be rewarded. One more coming up. That's why I said he's a perfect, because I wanted to dispel that myth of the broadcaster's jinx. It doesn't really exist.
Oh, you can't.
I just said perfect. He made that one.
Yeah, no, he's got to shoot.
And I'll say it again.
Another one,
he's going to go 4 of 4 right here, and he does not. Dynamo with the rebound off the left.
He's going to go forward right here, and he does not. Okay, and I just screwed everything up. And Dex caught it. Dex was he's got one more, Rob. Like, you got to shoot another one. You can't be saying all of this right now. You got to say that after he hits both free throws.
And when he missed that, it wasn't even just, it was like a donk, and you could hear it.
What was Dex's reaction?
He just looked at me, turned red. He's like, bro, come on.
I want to see Dex just literally fall off his chair and die laughing. That's what I would have done. That was
classic.
That was unbelievable.
You're trying to
You dug such a deep hole. It wasn't just I said perfect. It's I don't believe in the jinx. It's not going to happen. He's going to stay perfect. He's going to hit another one. 4 for 4 here. Oh, he missed it.
What happened was it got quiet inside the Shill Center, and he heard me say that. That's what happened. So Tajavis apologized to me after the game.
You barely even got the call for who got the rebound because you were laughing at yourself that you got it wrong, and he got
Dynamo with the rebound. Oh, that's a bad one.
That was good fun.
That's quite. Do you still believe the broadcaster's jinx isn't real?
I do not. No, it's not.
Okay,
it's not a real thing.
I don't know about that one. I mean, there's certain socks I'm not wearing anymore because I've worn them 2 times this year. Dress socks with the suit get up, and we lost both. So those socks are out of the rotation. They're not going to be in there. I'm a very superstitious individual.
I don't know. I look, man. There's nothing outside of yelling or screaming where people can hear you that you're going to have any effect on the game.
I even try and do it to the other team. Oh, here comes Emma Smith stepping up. She's a perfect 9 of 9, 83% free throw shooter. Third best free throw shooter in the entire league. Here she goes for 2 of them. I try and jinx the other team.
My mother on the flip hand, Shirley, who's always chiming in. Love you, Mom. Had to give her a shout out. She is good at jinxing bowlers because as a kid she would toss her hands in the air and go, miss it, miss it, miss it, while we were watching bowling, and then they would gutter ball it. So mom does have an impact. Me, not so much.
Broadcasters, no, but moms, yes. Well, we'll see if there's a jinx from Brandon Kristzal. KOA Denver Radio was at the Super Bowl last night. He joined us last week. He'll join us to start off hour number 2 of The Insiders when we come back next.
WeFest has your Valentine's Day gift covered with a sweetheart of a deal. The WeFest Sweetheart Bundle includes 2 GA tickets, 2 camp access passes, and 1 romantic campsite. Your Valentine will love it, and you'll save $50 now through February 14th. Tickets are selling faster than ever for WeFest 40th, and prices increase as the date gets closer. Morgan Wallen, Brad Paisley, and Kane Brown headline WeFest August 3rd through the 5th at the Sioux Pass Ranch. Tickets and info at WeFest.com.
Jeremy here at Horsch in Mapleton. Did you know that Horsch manufactures premier planting, seeding, and tillage solutions right here in the FM area? We are proud to be a family-owned business based out of Germany and would love for you to join our team right here in Mapleton. We offer competitive pay, full benefits, and paid family time from Christmas to New Year's. Please visit Horsch.com to view our current openings.
Rice Companies understands that strong buildings and strong communities start with strong connections. They know the importance of every bolt, every beam, and every handshake. Every connection must be strong. When you work with Rice Companies, you're building on more than concrete and steel. You're building on knowledge and expertise with people you can trust. People who value your investment as much as you do. Connect with Rice Companies, your local Butler builder, and experience the difference strong connections can make for your business. Learn more and see career opportunities at ricecompanies.com.
Quit hitting snooze for the same old thing every single day.
Oh no.
There's more to life. What about a career in the hottest and most exciting industry in the world? A career at Radio FM Media selling audio, digital, and event marketing is for people that are self-driven, personality plus, multitasker, persistent, have a creative streak, and love the idea of having a career instead of a job. This is a 6-figure sales job for highly motivated salespeople. Does this sound like you? Send your resume to Jessica at RadioFMmedia.com.
When it's time to make your next move, turn to Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty to put the full court press on your home search. Whether you're looking for a quiet home in the suburbs or something downtown, let Todd Kettermas run the point for you in the search for your dream home. Call Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty today or visit him at 4832 Amber Valley Parkway in Fargo. Todd is a proud partner and the preferred realtor of NDSU Athletics. Todd Kettermas with Beyond Realty, moving the herd one home at a time.
Celebrate your commitment. Celebrate falling in love over and over again. Wimmer's Diamonds can help you find the perfect ring that says, I love you even more today. A beautiful pendant that says, you're simply the best. An exquisite bracelet that says, I'm so happy you're in my life. At Wimmer's Diamonds, we believe in showing your love with wonderful, beautiful reminders. Wimmer's, located at 4582 32nd Avenue South in Fargo.
Hey, Bison Nation, Andy Reckoff here, and I just wanted to take a moment to say we absolutely love our Thoroldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. Love being there every day to bring you the very latest with NDSU athletics, but we're not the only ones that like to be in the studio.
Michael Tutsi with us here live in studio.
Scott Anderson joining us, Director of Multimedia, NDSU.
The athletic director's inside the studio. Matt Larson's joining us. I told you we weren't the only ones. Fuel your future and join the growing team at Thoroldson Ethanol today by going online to ThoroldSonEthanol.com.
Stop by Gateway Chevrolet and check out their great selection of in-stock Chevy cars and trucks ready for immediate delivery. Take advantage of invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Equinox and invoice pricing on new 2023 Chevrolet Silverados only at Gateway Chevrolet. Plus, find out about 2.9% financing on select Chevrolet models. That's right, 2.9% on select Chevrolets and invoice pricing on 2023 Equinox and Silverados at Gateway Chevrolet. Find new roads. Details gatewayfargo.com.
KQWB West Fargo, KPFX HD3 Kindred, and K224FD Fargo. Bison 1660, powered by Gateway Chevrolet, Cadillac, Nissan, and Hyundai in Fargo.
And here's
Here's what you need to know.
Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champs for the second time in 4 years and the third time in franchise history, coming back from down 10 at halftime for a 38-35 win over the Eagles in Super Bowl 57. Patrick Mahomes completed 13 of 14 passes in the second half. He picks up his second Super Bowl MVP. He joins Tom Brady and Joe Montana as the only players in NFL history to win multiple regular season MVPs and multiple Super Bowl MVPs. On the losing side, ESPN reports that Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Glennon is interviewing with the Cardinals for their head coach opening today. And also, Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen, he is expected to finalize a deal to be Indianapolis' head coach this afternoon. In golf, Scottie Scheffler won the Phoenix Open. He finished with a 2-shot lead at 19 under par. He claims the number 1 ranking in the world yet again. I'm Nick Cope.
You've got the insiders.
How you play today, from this moment on, is how you will be remembered.
That's what living is. That's right. There's 6 inches in front of your face.
Bringing you what you need to know and a whole lot more. Topics you care about, guests you know, and the conversations you came to hear. The Insiders are presented by Proceed. Need seed? Think Proceed.
This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Now, here are the Insiders.
The Insiders. The Insiders.
The Insiders.
Insiders.
Rob Hipp and Andy Rickoff.
Hour number 2 underway for you on a Monday morning of Super Bowl overreaction. Andy Rickoff, Rob Hipp, and Micah Bindi with you here inside our Theraldson Ethanol Broadcast Center. And our first hour of the program was brought to you by Rick Electric. They're the pros, take care of everything from business to residential electrical needs in this area. Been here for over 56 years. They're the pros at Rick Electric. Trust them for all your electrical service needs, and they can be found online at rickelectric.com. Hour number 2, continuing our overreaction from the Super Bowl. We have some text messages already coming in. Roger in West Fargo saying, bet on the Steelers now. I don't even know the Steelers odds. I think they were lower than the Vikings, and the Vikings were awfully low on that one, Roger. So you can go ahead and do that. I've got it pulled up right here. The Steelers are plus 5,500, and they are behind the Vikings for Super Bowl odds for next year. The Chiefs come in as the favorites for next year at plus 600, followed by the Buffalo Bills at plus 700. The San Francisco 49ers at plus 800. Go Trey Lance. Hope he's the quarterback. Bengals, Eagles, and Cowboys are rounding out the top 6 there for the next Super Bowl. Super Bowl 58. I don't even know when that's supposed to be played. Anybody know?
Sometime next year.
I meant where, but
where it will be played? Germany.
Sure. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's already been decided. Probably somewhere like L.A. or something like that. Maybe our Fox Sports Super Bowl correspondent knows that. Brandon Kristzal, KOA Denver, joined us all last week, and nice enough to give us some time here post-Super Bowl as well, when he's been working around the clock for a couple of days. Brandon, appreciate the time here, man. I know you're at the end of a long, long run here. How are things holding up for you here as the Super Bowl is behind you now?
Well, it's funny. It dawned on me that, hey, maybe I'll get a little break because it's a long week and one that I embrace covering and all that. And then I realized when I get home to Denver, I'm having to help out and do morning updates Tuesday and Wednesday. So those are 4 a.m. wake-ups.
There you go.
So
all right, back to the old grind.
No rest for the weary on that. But to answer the question about next year, not only do we know the city, the logo was released today. Las Vegas, of course, is going to host the Super Bowl next year, and you already have the busiest weekend of the year in terms of gambling action is Super Bowl weekend every year in Las Vegas. So I don't know exactly how they're going to be able to execute adding all the people that come with a new Super Bowl. The teams themselves, that'll be easy to handle because they're not worried about keeping them on the strip or making sure they hit all the stuff they need to hit when you would have high rollers in town or whatever it may be. But when you combine the people that travel to a Super Bowl and all the coverage around it with what's already a crazy busy weekend in Las Vegas, it's going to be a sight to behold, but fingers crossed I'll be there for all of it.
There's going to be some serious money flowing around at the casinos, I got to think, in Vegas for Super Bowl week with all the celebrities that tend to go to events kind of like that one. But great to have you on with us again. Appreciate the time. Just give us your overall thoughts. The entire week, just what are you going to take away? What are the memories going to be about this Super Bowl 5, 10 years down the line from right now? What are we still going to remember and be talking about?
I don't know how much we'll dwell on the James Bradbury ticky-tack holding call that obviously set up the game-winning field goal, which Butker was going to very likely make regardless. We were robbed of what could have been a very exciting ending, and we know how Nick Sirianni would have had no problem going for 2 if the Eagles were able to pick up the momentum of driving down the field with a minute and change left, if they could have pulled that off. But what I don't know if it'll be lost, but it'll certainly be, I think, remembered is the performance from Jalen Hurts. Will that go down as the best effort we've seen from a quarterback in a loss in a Super Bowl? Because there were people saying that he should still win MVP even in the loss, just like we saw back in the day. Was it Chuck Howley, the Hall of Famer, who won MVP in a loss, if I'm not mistaken, right? For the Cowboys.
I think you're right. I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. Chuck Howley was booed, by the way. He was not at the game because I don't know if it's health or timing or whatever. But both he and DeMarcus Ware were booed by the very lovely Eagles fans who booed Dak Prescott, Walter Payton Man of the Year. They booed LeBron James. We know what they think about Santa Claus, so not a big surprise. Even the Philly fans at the Super Bowl are booing people for great accomplishments. Nonetheless, I think that's what we'll remember the very most is Jalen Hurts and the effort he put forth, especially to be down 8 late. Like, okay, let's see what you got, kid. Can you bring your team back? He brought him back. He tied the game up with a 2-point conversion of his own, running the ball in. So I think that's what I'll remember the most is, and I guess the other part is, because Brady's a good example. We remember how great Brady is, and we can all say 7 Super Bowls, but we can't point to what he did in those first couple. So we'll remember that Mahomes is now 2 for 2 with 2 MVPs, but I don't think we're going to remember anything particularly about the toss to Sky Moore or whatever it was, right? He didn't have some ridiculous throw, really good play design by Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and company. But I think that's what will stick out the most to me is Jalen Hurts' effort in a loss.
Hey, BK, Rob here, and it just shows that we are very classy fans as Cowboys fans because we will still give credit to a Jalen Hurts and a great performance.
Exactly. We respect the game and can acknowledge when somebody does something worthy of being complimented.
That's right. Well,
by the way,
like, I don't know, being Walter Payton Man of the Year, making the Hall of Fame, or setting the NBA's all-time scoring mark.
Yeah, you'd think those would be big enough accomplishments. By the way, you're right. Chuck Howley, Super Bowl 5. Last time it's happened for a losing player to get MVP of the Super Bowl. Yeah, it's been a minute.
BK, is it too early? And we were talking about this early because I feel like this maybe has now put Kansas City in the dynasty category. Micah was saying that they've already been there. Andy said that this started to put them in there, this win. I kind of side with Andy on this one. Do you feel that this is a dynasty moment now for Kansas City? Can we officially call them that they are in a dynasty now?
I guess the question is what defines a dynasty? And I'm saying I don't know the answer, right? Even we sometimes or often struggle with who is the MVP, most valuable to their team or most valuable player on a good team that's most valuable to the league, right? Like, in that case, is Patrick Mahomes the MVP every year? Maybe not. The NFL would be fine with that. LeBron, Michael Jordan, all those years that guys like David Robinson and Charles Barkley were winning MVPs when MJ probably should have won it. So as far as what creates a dynasty, in the modern NFL, where we haven't had back-to-back champions since 2004 with the Patriots, if they could somehow figure out a way to do that, then there's no question because you get to the 3 and 4 years and all of that. But just to have gone to now hosted 5 straight AFC title games and gone to the Super Bowl 3 times and won it twice, they're the closest thing that we've seen to a dynasty, I think, maybe even more so since that first Patriots collection of 3. Not that they weren't as good. The second 3 that they won, which I want to say was also I guess it wasn't in a 4-year span, it was in a 5-year span here with Tom Brady. It's crazy to think, like, these are the conversations you have around Tom Brady are insane. But I guess it's I don't think any of us are going to lose sleep if we call what the Chiefs are doing a dynasty or dynastic, but I guess I don't know why does it matter, right?
Yeah, right.
We want to do this. We want to label stuff. That's the way our brains work. We like top 5s. We like top tens. I get all that. I know this. You guys just read off the Super Bowl odds, and I asked my wife this morning, and she knows more about football than she'd like because of what I do, but she's not going to her favorite gambling app or opening up the internet to check next to your Super Bowl odds. I said, hey, who do you think the favorite is next year? She goes, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs. I was like, yeah. That's how you know you're in a dynasty, is that right after you win it isn't, oh, well, they got lucky, da-da-da-da. Like last year maybe with the Rams a little bit. I don't know where the Rams odds were. I think they were still behind the Chiefs and Bills. Well, no, the Chiefs are right where they're supposed to be, because as long as 15's a quarterback, it reminds me of what Tom Brady and what Peyton Manning were with the Colts and Patriots throughout their entire time there. Is they're going to be 10 wins plus, and more years it's going to be more than 12, especially in 17 games. And they're going to be in the playoffs and in the mix for a championship run every year, as long as that guy's close to healthy, not even all the way healthy. And so that's a special thing to have. And so they definitely have that. They've got the best player at the most important position. And so with respect to even guys like Aaron Donald or J.J. Watt, who just retired, who's sitting down here in Arizona, none of those guys are winning championships on their own. Mahomes is showing us that, hey, you can take my fastest guy away. I'm just going to throw it to Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney, and we're going to be just fine.
I was just saying that earlier in the show. Like, if you're writing a headline in Kansas City, obviously there's a lot of Super Bowl headlines you could put on the newspapers there, but you could also say Tyreek who, because you got rid of Tyreek Hill, and everyone said it in the preseason, oh, this is going to kill them. They're not going to be the same offense anymore. Are they even going to? Are they going to win their division, right? I'm sure in Denver, KOA, you guys are all about the Broncos, right? Yeah. There was people saying the Chiefs wouldn't make the playoffs, which was
I didn't say that.
Ridiculous. But yeah, Tyreek who, don't even need him. One thing I think when we think about back on this like 5 years from now, we're going to look at the receiver core for Kansas City and be like, oh my gosh, Patrick Mahomes is a magician, because you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, Justin Watson. Like, that's the guys he was throwing to outside of Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's what it's going to be throughout the bulk of his career, as much as Aaron Rodgers complained. And look, Mahomes has had Tyreek Hill and still has Travis Kelce. I understand Aaron Rodgers' frustration. You take away Devontae Adams and look what their offense has become, or what they struggled to be this year, right? And so in a salary cap era, unless Patrick Mahomes' contract that he's on doesn't change at all, and it may not be the length of it, what made Tom Brady so effective all those years was that he didn't take top dollar. He wasn't taking bottom of the barrel, but he made sure that they spent up to the salary cap. And so the Chiefs are going to have to continue to have pass rushers. And the one thing that maybe won't be talked about enough, but probably should be, is that O-line kept Patrick with a dinged-up ankle clean against the best pass rush in football. And with what the Eagles did this year and all the stretch of 6+ sacks and 70+ sacks throughout the season, that I didn't even hear Hassan Reddick's name hardly last night, right? Or any of the other.
Yeah, one tackle, no sacks.
Right. So that's where I would spend my money on Patrick Mahomes, around Patrick Mahomes, because the backs are interchangeable. You're going to find ninth round, guys in their ninth year like Jerick McKinnon that are happy to be there. You're going to find guys in later rounds like Isaiah Pacheco, or middle rounds, that you'll run for 4 years, and then when they move on, you go get the next Isaiah Pacheco, right? I don't think anybody's fitting Isaiah Pacheco for a gold jacket yet. Maybe I'll be wrong. But, yeah, they're going to be in the mix with that guy. And I absolutely thought, they'll have to take a step back on the field with Tyreek gone. You can't take away the most dynamic weapon in the sport and be better. Like, the draft picks make sense. I get all that. But this year, they have to take a step back. All it did was make Patrick better, because instead of knowing he had Tyreek to bail him out, like he has Kelce to bail him out still, he's like, I'll throw it to Sky Moore. I'll throw it to Kadarius Toney. I'll throw it to MVS. I'll throw it to Juju. And that makes it so much more challenging for a defense, because like, nope, we're taking away or we're putting all our attention on this guy. And if MVS beats us, we shake his hand. Well, MVS didn't have any catches yesterday, but he's not to be accounted for. Everybody has to be accounted for. Mecole Hardman's going to get healthy again. And while he's certainly not Tyreek Hill, they just have weapons. And when you have a masterful guy that can get it to him, it just makes your life so much easier. So we don't know how long Andy Reid's going to coach and be paired with Patrick, but certainly a guy that creative. It's hard, right? Why would you walk away when you have Patrick Mahomes? I know that I'd be reluctant to.
Again, our Super Bowl correspondent, Brandon Kristzal, with us, KOA Denver. You can follow him on Twitter at BK Denver Sports as well. Just great work down there in at KOA down in Denver, covering things there as well, but also covered the Super Bowl for us last week and helping us out today on the day after. I think we all expect the Chiefs, like you said, even your wife was saying, okay, Super Bowl favorites for next year, right? The Chiefs are going to be there. The Eagles, not that they got lucky or came out of the blue, but I think people are probably thinking, okay, this was a one-year thing. Can they do it again? Kind of like we were with the Bengals last year. Okay, you got to the Super Bowl, but we don't quite completely believe you yet. They're going to lose, it looks like, both coordinators possibly going to get head coaching jobs. What odds would you give the Eagles of getting back to the Super Bowl, or do you think this could be the only chance for someone like Jalen Hurts?
I think the reality of the situation is it is perhaps the only chance because of those things that you're mentioning. And Nick Sirianni does a really good job of scheming up an offense and spreading the field. But A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith will be back. And guys like Quez Watkins, they can take the top off the defense, and a solid tight end like Goddard and nice stable of running backs around them. So they should be in the mix next year. I know this, as long as Mike McCarthy's calling plays in Dallas and Dak Prescott's ceiling is what it is for now, then they'll be better than the Cowboys when it matters, at least until proven otherwise. And I guess if you guys can answer this, and I know you truthfully can't, who's playing quarterback for the Niners, especially in November, December, and January? Because we know that Kyle Shanahan is a hell of a coach and that they'll be right there in the mix regardless of who's healthy and who's hurt, just because they always are. There's no way the Rams are as bad as they were this year, right? You're going to get Cooper Kupp back healthy. You're going to get at least one more year of Aaron Donald. You're going to get Matthew Stafford back, you think. He's not intending to retire, so the Rams are back in it. And so I think the NFC is interesting for sure, especially NFC North. People want to talk about Justin Fields. I'd like to see them actually win games.
Right.
Right. The Bears are keeping him as their guy. They're not moving on. They're going to get a bunch of picks, potentially, if they move on from one. Even if they drop down to two, they could get a bunch.
Aaron Rodgers might be out of Green Bay.
Yeah, where's Aaron Rodgers, right? Is he out of Green Bay? Is he in the AFC? So the Packers become a complete non-factor unless Jordan Love can play a whole season like he played, one game or whatever he did this year in Aaron's absence. And so, and the Vikings, I'll believe it when I see it there. Brian Daboll wins Coach of the Year. The same with Daniel Jones and the Giants. I want to see them continue to do it. So there's no reason to think that if you had to bet an NFC favorite right now, like to make the Super Bowl, the Eagles feel like the safest bet. But we know how hard it can be to get back there. The Bengals look like they'd have a good shot despite being the losing team. And then obviously that didn't materialize because of how things went.
Brandon Kristzal
in the playoffs.
Yeah, man, I agree with you. It feels like if you look at it objectively, like you just did, yeah, the Eagles should be the favorite. But we all know it's not how it works, right? It's not going to work out that way. It hardly ever does. Where you get a Super Bowl rematch or something like that. And there's so many teams in the AFC that could knock off the Chiefs. Obviously, the Bills, the Bengals. I think the Chargers are pretty good. Don't think you can completely discount a big leap up from the Jaguars, possibly, with a quarterback there in Trevor Lawrence. It looks like he's the real deal. So the AFC is loaded with quarterbacks. On the NFC side, it's some older quarterbacks that are on the way out and a bunch of nobody really knows at the quarterback positions throughout the NFC. So it should be an interesting year there. But you just know it never seems to work out that way where the team that got to the Super Bowl gets back there. Just something happens where someone is going to get upset. I don't know who they got in terms of free agents that are leaving, but I know that offensive line, for the most part, isn't going anywhere. And I think that's as big of a factor to their success, even as Jalen Hurts is, quite honestly. That offensive line is phenomenal, but they're definitely going to be locked and loaded for next season. Brandon Kristzal of Denver Sports, KOA Denver, down there. He is our Super Bowl correspondent from Fox Sports Radio. Brandon, appreciate you joining us there last week and especially giving us a little bit of time today. I know it's been a long stretch for you, a fun stretch, but a long one as well. So we appreciate you jumping on with us here one more time.
Yeah, happy to do it, guys. And I'll be out at the Combine for Fox Sports as well, so hopefully we can link up in a few weeks too.
Well, we got 3 guys out there, 3 Bison players out there at the Combine, so we'll have to make sure we stay in touch with you.
That's more than a lot of schools. I don't know about my beloved Kansas Jayhawks, how many will have. I know that the Colorado Buffaloes aren't going to have too many, so I don't have to keep an eye on kids from there now in the future. With Coach Prime in town, that may change a little. But I'd love to talk to you guys again. I really appreciate you having me. So enjoy the Super Bowl, whatever the hangover after the Super Bowl for a little bit, and then we'll be talking football. I guess you're already doing it today, but we got to get going, right?
Well, USFL, right? USFL in like 2 weeks. Let's go. USFL.
Yeah, let's get ready.
Today should be a national holiday, right?
There'll be some Bison there too, right? So
probably a couple of them. Today should be a national holiday, really.
It should be. It should be. I know I could use it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You sound like you've been talking quite a bit. So there we go. We appreciate you talking with us even more.
Yeah, somebody stole my voice. All right. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks. There you go. Brandon Kristzal, nice enough to jump on with us here and recap what he experienced there at the Super Bowl. I've been there covering one, not at the actual game itself, just the week leading up. And it again, you don't complain about it because you get a chance to cover something that most people who are covering it have kind of dreamed of covering a Super Bowl. But it is a lot of long days that kind of compile together. So we do appreciate Brandon giving us a little bit of time there, recapping what he experienced at Super Bowl 57. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Still plenty left to get to here in this hour of The Insider. Some more Super Bowl conversation. Fox Sports Radio's own Dan Beyer was on the field moments before the kickoff. We'll get his thoughts and everything there. See what his bets were. I know he had some possibly some prop bets out there as well for Dan Beyer, so we'll have him on and go over all that when we come back here next on The Insiders.
The most complete Bison coverage in the region. Your Bison Nation station.
You are deep in thought, which is always dangerous.
Bison 1660.
I think what makes Proceed win is we're different than the other companies in many ways with our programming, our simplicity, our non-corporate attitudes, and our personal relationship building.
What Proceed is, we bring back the old-fashioned seed buying experience. We're true seedsmen. We care about everything from the sale to the planting to following up afterwards. That's what we're all about, is just trying to bring that experience back to a personal level.
Need seed? Think Proceed. Proceed.net. Great seed at a reasonable price.
Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, has been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades. Locally owned and operated since 1974, DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. From the entryway to the kitchen, from hot to cold, from dreary to bright, DRI has you covered. DRI, formerly Dakota Refrigeration, with locations in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot, online at dacref.com.
Businesses should know that Consolidated Communications has the only data center in the FM area that is SOC 2 certified. That means Consolidated has tested reliable systems in place to protect your valuable data. That's more important than ever with today's security concerns. Many business insurance companies require SOC certification at data storage facilities. You should work with a local data center that is SOC 2 certified. For scalable, cost-effective data center solutions for your changing business needs, go to consolidated.com/data center.
Shop the largest new vehicle inventory in the area, only at Corwin Auto. Corwin Auto has over 600 new vehicles available, and one of them can be yours. You heard me. Over 600 new cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers for you to choose from. With inventory like that, you don't have to settle. Find exactly what you are looking for. Have a trade? Get top dollar when you purchase any new in-stock or incoming unit. What are you waiting for? Head to any Corwin Auto location today or shop online, corwinauto.com.
Rick Electric wants to say thanks for a great 2022 and looks forward to serving you and all new customers in the new year. Plus, Rick Electric wants to say thanks for voting them the best electrical contractor in the Red River Valley. Since 1964, Rick Electric has been serving homeowners and businesses with troubleshooting, repairs, new construction, and over a dozen projects in my home. Rick Electric. Schedule online or request an estimate at rickelectric.com.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Mostly sunny and warmer to start your new work week with highs in the upper 30s. South wind 7 to 17 miles per hour with gusts as high as 24. Tonight, increasing clouds with a low around 20. South wind 6 to 13 miles per hour with gusts as high as 18. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. And with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor and remains unchanged as of today. Aromas of woody oak, caramel, and vanilla with a taste that is sweet and balanced with caramel, vanilla, and fruity essences. Every barrel of Maker's Mark is aged to taste, not time. Maker's Mark, the star of your home bar. Please drink responsibly.
Experience is what builds the future of glass at Cardinal IG in Fargo. Cardinal IG is leading the industry in the development of superior glass for the residential window industry. Their highly motivated and talented employees design and manufacture the best glass in the industry. This February, Cardinal IG would like to say thank you to Michael Johnson, Elisa Henjum, and Elizabeth Victor, who are all celebrating their first year at Cardinal IG. To view open positions or to apply, visit CardinalFargo.com. That's CardinalFargo.com.
Hey, Bison Nation, this is NDSU quarterback Cam Miller.
This one is a keeper by Miller, left side touchdown.
And you're listening to The Insiders on Bison 1660.
Looking forward to seeing Cam Miller throwing some more touchdown passes. Believe it or not, folks, spring ball just around the corner. Getting close. It's probably like only a couple weeks away.
There's no off-season for football.
Isn't. Everyone's like, oh, see, no more NFL football, sports abyss, here we go. Well, spring ball's just around the corner for NDSU football. Obviously, got basketball going on right now. March Madness is the best time of the year, my opinion. I love that whole tournament. And I think this year you could have like an 8 or 9 seed win the whole thing. There are no completely dominant teams. No, Alabama's looked great. They're undefeated in conference play. I get that. But no one's like Alabama's untouchable. Purdue, untouchable. Purdue just lost to Northwestern. The Dukes, the UNCs, Gonzaga's had a bad year. Like, there's going to be a lot of craziness happening in March Madness this year, so I'm very much looking forward to that. And a whole bunch of things. Spring ball not too far away either for college programs out there across the nation. The Insiders today brought to you in part by Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI. They've been serving Minnesota, the Dakotas, and Montana for over 4 decades, locally owned and operated since 1974. DRI is a full-service source for your refrigeration, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and electrical service needs. Again, Dakota Refrigeration, now known as DRI, online at dacref.com. We do have some sound from the Super Bowl post-game. Everyone's wanting to break down, was it a holding call, was it not a holding call? And James Bradbury himself said, yes, I held him. I was just hoping it wasn't going to get called. I don't think it was an egregious call, but let's just hear from the head coach of the Eagles, Nick Sirianni himself, on what he thought.
It's not my job to, you'll see me on the sideline. I'm going to argue with different things of calls here and there, but it's not my job to make the call. Those guys got to do that in split second, scenarios. And so, that's what he saw, and he called it. And so that's never it. I know it always appears to be that, it's one call that makes the game. It's not what it is, right? It's not what it is. There's so many plays that contribute to the end result of the game, and today they were better than we were.
It's a very mature way to go about it. Wasn't expecting that from Nick Sirianni, quite frankly. But he's right. It's not one play, one call that decides anything one way or another. Let's get another opinion on was it or was it not a holding call, the one thing everybody wants to ask across the entire nation of sports right now, with our Fox Sports radio correspondent, the one and only, Dan Beyer. Nice enough to join us on the Epic Companies hotline. Dan, great to have you on. Driving back from the Super Bowl right now, as I take it. Where are we at on the drive right now?
I am about 43 miles to Blythe, which is right at the California-Arizona border. And so as I make my way back to Los Angeles, that's where I am in western Arizona on I-10.
So you're heading, the city call was Blythe, correct?
Yeah, Blythe.
Okay.
Blythe.
Okay, I'm going to try a dad joke here. So you're saying there's Blythe at the end of the tunnel for you right now?
Very good.
Thank you. Appreciate
very good. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, about that passer or the holding call on James Bradbury, I feel like the people at home had a better view of it. They only showed one replay of the play in the stadium, and it was one of those times, guys, where I felt like, well, maybe they just showed the wrong part of the penalty. Because the one time that I saw it at first glance, I didn't think that there was much there, and I felt, we don't see a lot of uncatchable anymore, and you're not going to have an uncatchable ball on a holding. That can't happen. But that was a situation where I thought, even if he wasn't held, I don't think he catches that football. So in that situation, and taking that all into account, I was surprised that the call was made when it was made.
I put it this way earlier on in the show. It was called, clearly it was called, and we're all talking about it. It's become a discussion point. If it wasn't called in the heat of the moment, like if everything went on and that wasn't called and we had a replay of it and everything, I don't think there would be an uproar across sports talk radio of, man, they should have thrown that flag. Look how egregious the call was that they missed. Like, we're all talking about it because it was called. If it wasn't called, I think it would have just been another play where you go like, maybe, possibly, but I'm okay with a no call there,
I agree, Andy. I completely agree. And I will also say this, coming off of what happened in the AFC Championship game and the penalty on Osai of the Bengals on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, there was debate. I think that was more clear-cut that was a penalty, but there was the discussion of, do you call it in that situation? And then, you have two calls that are so in favor of Kansas City, and I'm not I hope I'm not taking anything away from them, but that's what adds on to it as well. It's now, we already believe that the Chiefs are kind of the darlings of the NFL, and that adds to the narrative that has everybody talking today.
Dan, you brought up a good point. Rob here, by the way. Thanks for chiming in with us and all your great coverage. You brought up a good point because was that ball even catchable or not? And I think that's one narrative that we need to talk more about that you just brought up, that there was no way that catch was going to happen anyway. So in that moment, you can't throw that penalty. Let the game play out. When you go back and look through this game and you see what the Eagles were able to do, do you feel like maybe that Jalen Hurts dropping the ball and Kansas City running that back and scoring, was that the decisive turning point in this game?
Yeah. I think that look at the box score. The Eagles dominated everything. They didn't dominate in turnovers because they had the turnover that resulted in 7 points. And if Hurts doesn't fumble, it's very interesting because if Hurts doesn't fumble and there isn't a false start on the short yardage play, just prior to that play, the Eagles kind of put together a drive. What ended up happening was, because the Chiefs ended up scoring defensively, Philly was on the field the entire second quarter. And I thought they were going to be able to use that to their advantage in the second half, but they didn't do it. So, your point about the punt return as well was, it was a low kick. The Eagles obviously didn't have to contain on that. But if you just think of the entire game, and you think of about 3 or 4 plays that just, that the Chiefs made. The Eagles made tons of plays in the game, no doubt about it. Devontae Smith catch, A.J. Brown catch, Dallas Goedert with a couple of great catches, tons of plays. But the Chiefs game, the plays that the Chiefs made were just game altering. And the fumble killed, the punt return killed, and the penalty killed. But if you look at that box score, yeah. I mean, it just was, those 3 or 4 plays decided, as it usually does, but I can't remember a spot where they were so monumental, especially for the Eagles. Because if I'm an Eagles fan, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but this is something I really thought about. You leave that game, if you were to say Patrick Mahomes only threw for, under 200 yards, heck yeah, you're taking it. Absolutely.
You're probably winning that thing by 3 scores, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that they probably didn't do is run the ball as well. And Kansas City actually ran the ball a little bit better. But, yeah, it's a crazy, crazy game. And, if you're Philly today, I think you're waking up even more mad than you were yesterday.
I think the punt return is an unsung play. I think it was Kadarius Toney, whoever it was, that returned that thing down to the 5 and sets you up for another touchdown to take the lead by 8 at that point. I think that was a huge play in the game. I would agree with you. But we can talk about game and we can talk about the plays with anybody. We can't talk about the field conditions with everybody. And you were on the field, Fox Sports Radio on Twitter. I saw the video. Well done by you. Great work covering this thing. I think the field conditions played a bigger role in the game than the referees ever did, because we weren't talking about the referees at all until that final call. We were talking about the field conditions throughout the entire game. Were you surprised at how honestly awful the field conditions seem to be for a Super Bowl.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm Andy, and I'm serious. I'm 0% shocked. 100% believe that this would become an issue because it's always an issue with that stadium. Like we get wrapped up into this technology of, oh my goodness, they can have a grass field and they can put it outside and it's grass, and it's probably better than turf. But it's not like your lawn that you go out to and play on in the middle of July in Fargo. It's not like that. It's not like Lambeau Field. It's not like Soldier Field. It's not there 365. Like it is. There's no depth to it.
It's being transported on like a foot thick metal platform. Yeah.
Yes. It's not like your lawn that is attached to the ground and attached to the earth. Like it's just not like that. And they raved about this turf. You'll see NFL.com tweets of this turf was 2 years in the making, and this is the turf that the USGA puts together for golf courses, and it's like, all right, that's fine for that. But when you have, 250-pound grown men who run at great speeds with cleats, it's not a good surface. I think you're going to have the same problems for years in Las Vegas. And they have two fields. They have the turf for UNLV, and they have the grass for the Raiders. It's just this field always has those problems, and it's because of what it is. You also know this, guys. There's no crown to the field. It's flat as a basketball court. That is what it is. There's no crown in the middle. It doesn't go towards the sidelines. There's none of that. It is a basketball court on grass, and you're always going to have this problem. They've always had the problems. It's why I was not surprised at all when you heard the Eagles complain afterwards.
Yeah, 300-pound grown men, a little bit more dangerous than a 7-iron off the deck like the USGA. Dan Beyer here with us, Fox Sports Radio. You can find him on Twitter as well, at Dan Beyer on Fox. Listen to him as well here on Bison 1660. Your thoughts on what was the crowd like there? Was it majority Eagles, majority Chiefs? It seemed pretty loud for both. You could hear the Chiefs kind of war chant after they'd score. You'd hear the Eagles chants. What was the crowd like?
Yeah, it was split pretty well. If I had to give a slight edge, I'd give it to Philly for two reasons. I thought that they had just a few more fans. Not a lot. Not like we may be talking about 52-48, 55-45. But also, let's be honest, they're just so much louder. Mm-hmm. They just don't shut up. Like when they're booing Dak Prescott, they know about it. Like the Chiefs fans are loud when they're cheering for, something that happens. And the Eagles fans, obviously when they cheer, it's a whole different sort of cheer. But they're just louder by nature. So that is where Philly had an edge. But it was actually a pretty good showing. And you have the Chiefs on their side, their fans on that side of the field. Eagles were on the other side. But I would give a slight edge to the Eagles, but also because they're just loud. Eagles fans are loud.
They're obnoxious, is what they are, Dan. Obnoxious.
Yes.
Dan,
yes, they are.
Dan, what'd you make of Travis Kelce, their post-game TV interview where he was saying nobody believed in us, everything, this has been us all season, nobody ever gave us a chance. I think that was maybe a little overreaction on his part. I wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Because everybody believed in KC.
Everybody counted them out because they were, like a 1.5 point underdog.
Exactly. The one seed in the playoffs, no one believed they'd ever make it this far.
Yeah. Yes. Who, no matter what, if they were down 30, people are still saying Mahomes will bring you back.
Yeah.
That's pretty ridiculous. By the way, Mahomes getting MVP. I'm just going to say this. I don't know who votes, and it's so popular, but his runs were actually more impressive than any of the touchdowns that he threw. But I thought Nick Bolton should have gotten the MVP.
I thought Pacheco might have been up for it. Isaiah Pacheco had a really good game.
Yeah, but like when you talk about it's just and I suppose it's tough to give it to a defensive player when your team gives up 35 points, but he was everywhere, and I guess if Kelce would have had another touchdown, I think he would have gotten it. But just for Mahomes to get it the 3 touchdown passes, 2 of them were walk-ins.
Yep.
You and us 3 could have scored on that, on the Sky Moore and the Kadarius Toney touchdown. And there's nobody around. maybe it was the runs. Obviously, it was the quarterback, but the 2 runs that he had in the second half, especially the one in the fourth quarter, maybe were the reason that he won. But I was a little surprised that he did win it.
It's almost like the MVP. You've got to do something like the regular season MVP is almost always a quarterback. Super Bowl MVP seems like it's the same way unless you do something completely ridiculous like Cooper Kupp last year where he had like 150 yards and multiple touchdowns, and he was the Triple Crown winner in the regular season, which shouldn't matter at all, but it does to the voters a little bit, like, oh, this guy was great in the regular season too, and now he had this performance. We've got to give it to him over Matthew Stafford. I just thought, the Chiefs win, unless Mahomes is awful in the game, it's going to go to Mahomes, and he's not going to be awful in many games there. We've kind of read off the Super Bowl odds already. Chiefs, obviously the favorite, followed tightly by the Buffalo Bills, 49ers, Eagles, and Cowboys, and the Bengals rounding out the top 6. Is there somebody outside of that top 6, Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles? Outside of those 6, who would you pick and why?
Gosh, would I be crazy to say the Chargers again? I mean, there's always so much hope for them, and you're hoping, now with Kellen Moore as their offensive coordinator, maybe that does even more wonders or sparks their running game. They do have a lot of injuries, and it's not just to that base in LA, but they've got the pieces. They really do. They just haven't been able to put it together. I would put the Chargers in that aspect. I know everybody would say like, oh, next, who you picking next year, and Chiefs and Eagles, and who else was it? It was Niners and Bengals and Bills, and who else?
Chiefs and Eagles and Cowboys.
Chiefs, Cowboys were the other. Okay, yeah. Out of those, I would say, I would probably say the Chargers. They've got so much talent, and when you look around the league, there's obviously going to be changes with your Vikings, Andy.
Not according to DraftKings. They were like the 19th worst odds. They were behind the Jaguars and the Lions. They were behind the Detroit Lions, Dan. I can't get it.
I'm actually really curious to see if Detroit can continue that magic. In the growth that they have there. So, but if I had to pick one team, I will just say that it would be it'll be the Chargers. I'll say one other thing. Look out for the Panthers if they can get their quarterback situation sorted out.
Interesting. I do like Frank Reich. I think it was a good coaching hire by them out there, and obviously the division is completely up for grabs with Tom Brady retiring. Last question for you, and because we have to ask you a question. This is what we asked you all about when we had you on last week, so I got to get your recap on it. Scale of 1 to 10, Rihanna's halftime performance. How good or how bad was it in your opinion?
I would tell you what. I'd give it an 8.8.
There we go.
I thought it was really good. I hope that the levels and the gaps in how high she was being raised translated to TV, because that was really crazy. Like that was a spectacle. Doing it when she's apparently pregnant, added it, played all the hits. But yeah, I tell you what, I do love a special guest because there is a pop with that. So I missed out on that, but otherwise, I give it an 8.8.
I couldn't even stand up that high on those platforms, much less sing and move around like they were doing. They were swaying a little bit, Dan. They were definitely swaying a bit, and you could tell on TV they were hundreds of feet up in the air.
Yes, it was. I mean, it was. It was truly a spectacle. But I thought, like, when she's up there singing, I'm like, I don't know what I would be doing. I would be freaking out. But yeah, job well done, Rihanna.
I'd be standing on the ground under an umbrella. That's what I would be doing instead of doing what she was doing.
By the way, I know you. I know we got to run, but I just want to say this. I went to the Waste Management Open on Saturday, and for any golf fan, you just got to do it once in your life. And if anybody who likes to drink and party, or just go once in your life. It was so cool. It lived up to its billing. You can only spend a day there. You wouldn't want to spend 4 days there. Just go for a day. I went on Saturday, which is a great day for everybody. Definitely worth price of admission and lived up to the hype.
Yeah, that's something I want to get to at some point. It does seem like a really good time. Dan Beyer, Fox Sports Radio. You can hear him here on Bison 1660 as well, doing some of those sports updates at the top of the hour. But driving back, there is blight at the end of the tunnel for Dan Beyer on his drive back to L.A. Dan, appreciate you coming out with us here once again. Thanks for giving us a little bit of time, and congrats on getting to cover a Super Bowl. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.
There he goes, Dan Beyer, Fox Sports Radio. Nice enough to give us a little bit of time. Let's take a break. We'll come back, wrap things up here for you next on The Insiders.
Your home for the Thundering Herd. Bison 1660.
Shop the largest new vehicle inventory in the area, only at Corwin Auto. Corwin Auto has over 600 new vehicles available, and one of them can be yours. You heard me. Over 600 new cars, trucks, SUVs, and crossovers for you to choose from. With inventory like that, you don't have to settle. Find exactly what you are looking for. Have a trade? Get top dollar when you purchase any new in-stock or incoming unit. What are you waiting for? Head to any Corwin Auto location today or shop online, corwinauto.com.
I'm Alexa, and my family chose Rusco Windows. We had quite a few consults come through, and Rusco, you couldn't beat the price point. And then they just had such a way with clear communication each step of the way.
Hi, this is Jeff Olson from Rusco Window and Cabinets. With 4 generations, 70 years, and over 1 million installations by our family, it's easy to see why we're your window and cabinet experts. RuscoWindowCompany.com.
It's Rusco.
Don't let your profits get stuck in your truck this spring. Dirt, rock, let it slide with Super Slide. Super Slide is a plastic, non-stick, self-lubricating, and seamless liner that eliminates haulback in your dump box or dump trailer. Super Slide is available in various grades, widths, and thicknesses, and Horn Plastics can have you in and out in no time. Get your new liner now to ensure you maximize productivity and profitability in 2023. Super Slide from Horn Plastics, created and preferred for every job. Visit hornplastics.com to schedule your installation.
Are you an electrician? Are you looking for a change? JDP Electric is looking for commercial, industrial, and service electricians. JDP is looking for both journeyman and apprentice electricians. You could start your career today with a family-owned and operated business who's been serving our community for over 20 years. Full-time positions available with great pay and benefits. Call 701-232-1991 or email info@jdpelectric.net. Start your new tomorrow today. Come be a part of the JDP difference.
Here's your Red River Valley weather update on Bison 1660.
Mostly sunny and warmer to start your new work week with highs in the upper 30s. South wind 7 to 17 miles per hour with gusts as high as 24. Tonight, increasing clouds with a low around 20. South wind 6 to 13 miles per hour with gusts as high as 18. This weather update is brought to you by Brady's Service Center in Moorhead. Brady's Service Center is your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. And with donuts, breakfast, and lunch items daily, they're also your one-stop shop for all your road trip needs.
What do concussions, sports injuries, post-COVID long hauler, and chronic pain all have in common? Inflammation. At Healing with Hyperbarics, we are treating your inflammation the natural way with 100% oxygen, no referral needed, same-day appointments, and weekend availability. Now is the time to let us help you heal. Check us out on our website, healingwithhyperbarics.com, or on Facebook. Healing with Hyperbarics is your one-stop shop for total body wellness, conveniently located on 45th Street in Fargo.
Pick a sport, any sport.
Baseball. No, wait. College football. No, wait.
Basketball. Now, pick a Pizza Patrol pizza.
All me. Wait, no. Let's get the breadsticks too, and wings.
You get where I'm going with this?
No matter what sport we want to watch, Pizza Patrol is the place to go.
Exactamundo.
Pizza Patrol. Call 241-9000 or order online at 2419000.com.
You are on the service, and people are on the road. You know you really are for the Pizza Patrol.
There's so many things on the mind of ag operators. This is Scott Zelandic with Cornerstone Bank. Right-sizing your farm operations, interest rates, and inflation are hot-button issues, and for good reason. These concerns require a specialized approach. At Cornerstone Bank, we're here to help businesses, ag operations, and individuals when they're making important decisions about their money. We're a locally owned and managed community bank, and we've been specializing in ag banking for generations. Come see the experts at Cornerstone Bank.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
WeFest has your Valentine's Day gift covered with a sweetheart of a deal. The WeFest Sweetheart Bundle includes 2 GA tickets, 2 camp access passes, and 1 romantic campsite. Your Valentine will love it, and you'll save $50 now through February 14th. Tickets are selling faster than ever for WeFest 40th, and prices increase as the date gets closer. Morgan Wallen, Brad Paisley, and Kane Brown headline WeFest August 3rd through the 5th at the Sioux Pass Ranch. Tickets and info at WeFest.com.
This is Jory Collins, head women's basketball coach at NDSU.
We're trying to get this program to a point where we can compete for Summit League championships and hopefully play in the in-state tournament. I mean, that's the entire goal.
You are listening to The Insiders on Bison 1660.
And you can listen to the head coach, Jory Collins, on the Bison Women's Basketball Coaches Show tonight, 7 to 7:30. Also, men's basketball show, 6 to 7 o'clock tonight with Dave Richmond coming off back-to-back wins at home. So going to be in a good mood for sure. Jory Collins, the women's team did lose a couple of games, but trying to right this ship. Still tied in second place. Still got everything in front of them that they can accomplish this year. And still in the driver's seat, I believe, for that number 2 seed, too. So I know, obviously, when you're talking about the women's team, and Coach won't back away from it, didn't go the way they, wanted it to, but the way they expected it to. I think there's expectations around this program. Probably for the first time in a long time, there's legitimate expectations. That's something I think that's new. We'll probably ask him a little bit about that tonight, but didn't go their way. We'll see what the coach has to say tonight, 7 to 7:30, and looking forward to having Coach Richmond back in here, too.
Yeah, Beyond, make sure to join us. Did want to remind you again, women's basketball, ORU, Saturday, February 18th, moved up to 12 noon. We'll be hammering that home this week. And also, the Bison wrestling team will host South Dakota State on Sunday, February the 19th. It's for the Battle of the Border Belt. That match will be at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse at 2 p.m. So just some reminders there for Bison Nation.
Some changes there. Wrestling not going to be at the Shack. That's going to be in the BBF. That was their decision to do that, to have it kind of a not smaller atmosphere, but like a more condensed atmosphere on top of the mat, and have a smaller venue where it sounds a whole lot louder too. And I think it's going to be a good decision, and see how it goes there against SDSU. Props and a shout out to Brandon Metz.
Man, he rocked
helping
it
there on Friday night. You guys had the duel against Oklahoma where the Bison won convincingly in that one against Oklahoma. So shout out to Roger Kish and company there. But Brandon Metz was terrific on the call with you.
Yeah, we're going to have him back. What a great guy. I mean, born and raised right here, went to West Fargo High School, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And
he's a Packer.
And everybody was coming up to him, giving him hugs, high fives. Great young man. So a big shout out. Thank you, Brandon, for the great work that you did.
Yeah, Brandon Metz helped out immensely there with us Friday night, covering NDSU wrestling, and they got that big one against SDSU coming up later this week. That'll do it for us today. Tomorrow, Summit League shoot-around. NDSU with ORU in Kansas City. A couple of guests from those two teams. We'll preview those big matchups for the Bison men and the women coming up here this week. Summit League shoot-around tomorrow. Also, Dexter Warner will stop by tomorrow. Dex got tied up. We'll have him, though, tomorrow on the program. Looking forward to that. A whole bunch more later on this week as well. No more NFL. It's draft season, baby. It's the best season of all. Micah Bindy's a huge draft guy, right? There we go.
Oh, yeah. I love the draft. Everyone's talking about, which prospect did they love?
Mock draft.
Hand sizes, 40s.
Combine's not too far away. Spring ball's not too far. We got plenty to talk about. We're not going to run out of subject, that's for sure. Not running out of stuff to talk about here on The Insiders. Thanks for joining us today. Back with you again tomorrow for another edition of The Insiders, brought to you each and every day by Proceed, online at proceed.net.
In 1953, Bill Samuels created a simple bourbon, while Margie Samuels worked on her creative vision. A bottle hand-dipped in red wax, wrapped in a hand-cut label, filled with handcrafted bourbon that elevated flavor